So today we are going to look at something new. Take your grammar books. Take your grammar books. We're going to look at something we call clauses. A clause, or you can say, let me just write for you. So that is our today's topic. Clauses. Have you written that?
Yes.
So when it comes to clauses, I have said clauses. Nimeandika hapo kwa chat. I have said we are going to look at clauses. So before I even give the meaning of what a clause is, so in English we have 4 parts, or let me say 3 parts that make up a sentence. 3 parts that make up a sentence. We have word. A word is just a one word, like for example, go or come. That is just one word. And then you have a phrase, and a clause. And so we have a word, a phrase, and a clause. A word plus a phrase plus a clause makes up a sentence. So what are we supposed to ask ourselves? What is a word? What is a phrase? And what is a clause? And what is a sentence? Okay, I wrote the spelling. Let me just write it again. The spelling of a clause is C-L-A-U-S-E-S. Clauses. There you have the spelling. So we have what is a word, what is a phrase, and what is a clause. All the 3 make up a sentence. Why do we say I can go to the market? In that sentence, and wait a minute, I finish introducing the lesson. In that I can go to the market entails a word, entails a phrase, and it entails a clause. And a word plus a phrase plus a clause makes up a sentence. Anne, go ahead.
Excuse me, teacher, which book are we using?
Your grammar books. Your grammar books. So let me write what I'm saying. Word plus a phrase plus clause is equals to a sentence. Yeah, you're writing. Have your topic as clauses, and then have that small introduction that I have just said. It is what now I'm explaining. A word plus a phrase plus a clause makes up a sentence. So go a bit down there after you've written that, and now explain what is a word. What is a word? What is a word? What is a word? Are we together? So have you written clauses, and then word plus phrase plus clauses is equals to a sentence? So write a word is a part of speech. 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 A phrase is a short written or spoken. A phrase is a short written or spoken. A phrase is a short written or spoken expression. A phrase is a short written or spoken expression. A phrase is a short written or spoken expression. A phrase is a short written or spoken expression and does not convey a complete meaning, and does not convey a complete meaning, and does not convey a complete meaning. The word conveys on your screen, and does not convey a complete meaning. Okay, let me start again. Okay, let me start again. A phrase is a short, written, or spoken expression. A phrase is a short, written, or spoken. A phrase is a short, written, or spoken expression. A phrase is a short, written, or spoken expression and does not convey a complete meaning. And does not convey a complete meaning. And does not does not convey a complete meaning. For example, let me give an example in a sentence of a phrase. In the afternoon. What can we tell about our phrase in the afternoon? What are we trying to get from that exact sentence? Are we getting a full explanation of what, not sentence, of what the phrase is saying? When you talk about in the afternoon, there is a bit of some questions after that, like when you say in the afternoon. So the questions can come in: what are you going to do in the afternoon? What will happen in the afternoon? What exactly is going to be there in the afternoon? So a phrase is just a short written or spoken expression, and a phrase is formed by one word or two words, like Ivy, we are using grammar books. So as I was saying, in the afternoon, it is not a complete, it does not convey a complete meaning. So that is what we understand about a phrase. Remember, I said a word is a part of speech. Which are the parts of speech in English that we know? Which are the parts of English that we know? Hands up. Parts of speech. This is the first introduction in English. Zipporah.
We have a verb.
A verb. Caitlin.
Preposition.
Preposition. Rita.
Adjectives.
Adjectives. Joy Precious.
Nouns.
Nouns. Yvonne. Yvonne 2195.
Preposition.
Preposition as we said.
Prepositions.
Thank you. Preposition. Brenda 2292.
Adverb.
Adjectives. Yeah. Mercy 2209. Mercy 2229. 22, is it 2209? Mercy?
Yes. The adjectives.
Yeah, adjectives. Thank you. Thank you. So a word comes from, it can be formed by any parts of speech. A noun, your name, can be formed by an adjective, beautiful, that is a word, can be formed by a verb, uh, can be formed by a preposition, can be formed by any parts of speech that forms a word. And one or two words form a phrase. One or two words form a phrase. And that is why I've given an example as in the afternoon. This a phrase does not convey a complete meaning. There's still a bit of some questions after you give a phrase. Higher, let's go to clauses. A clause, right? Clause, a clauses. Clause, sorry, not a clauses. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words. A group of two or more words, which include a subject. A group of two or more words, which include a subject. A group of two or more words. A group of two or more words, which include a subject and any necessary predicate. Any necessary, let me write you the word, any necessary predicate, any necessary predicate, any necessary predicate. Let me repeat. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words. A clause is a group of two or more words, which include a subject, which includes a subject. I'm repeating. A clause is a group of two or more words, which includes a subject and any necessary predicate. A group of two or more words, which includes a subject and any necessary predicate. A group of two or more words, which include a subject and any necessary predicate. So what do we understand by the word predicate? Predicate is like a part of a sentence, or you can either say it is more like a clause. So for example, and it also states that it explains more about, a predicate explains more about the certain subject given in the sentence. Like for example, when you say the dog barked very loudly. The dog barked very loudly. The dog barked very loudly. In this case, the subject is the dog. And the predicate is, the subject is the dog. The dog barked very loudly. I'm explaining the meaning of a predicate. The dog, write that example. The dog barked. The dog barked very loudly. The dog barked very loudly. I've written the example that I want to explain what a predicate is. The dog barked very loudly. The dog barked very loudly. Haya, in our sentence, the dog barked very loudly. What do we have in the sentence? What is there? Someone, what is there in our sentence? I hope you all have that sentence. The dog barked very loudly. McKenna, 2297.
Article.
Yes, there is an article. What is dog? Dog falls under which part of speech?
Noun. Noun.
Yeah,
A noun.
a common noun. Thank you. Yes. They are backed. Zipporah.
Verb.
Backed. Yeah. Verb. Good. Very, very loudly. Very loudly.
Adjective.
Very loudly. Loudly. Very
Adjective.
loudly.
Adverb.
Adverb. Correct. Adverb. No, it is not an adjective. It is a verb. An adverb. Sorry, an adverb. Very loudly. Higher. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. I can see we are together. Higher. So I've said the dog barked very loudly. So what is the predicate in this sentence? The dog is our subject. And then barked very loudly is very loudly is the adverb in the sentence. It is explaining to us how the dog barked. So very loudly is the predicate. It is explaining more about the two words. So remember I said a sentence is formed by a word plus a phrase plus a clause. So a word in our sentence is article, the. Another word in our sentence is dog, which is a noun, a common noun. And then our phrase, you can say, what can we say in our sentence? Which is our phrase, which can be a phrase. The part of the phrase that if you say it, it needs a bit more of explanation for the person to understand what you're talking about. Which piece can be the phrase? A phrase. Someone try. Let me see. Anita.
Backed.
Anita. Yeah,
Backed.
backed. You can say backed very. You can say backed very. That is a phrase. And then now we have now going back to, I'm explaining, Noella, just give me time. Going back to what a clause is. A clause, I said a clause is a group of two or more words, which includes a subject and any necessary predicate. So in our sentence, we have the dog. The dog, there and there plus dog makes two words. Those two words are, remember I said a word is either any part of speech. So those two words, there is an article. An article is a part of speech and dog is a noun. A noun is a part of speech. A minute, let me finish explaining and then you will ask your question if you don't understand. A clause is formed of a group of two or more words. Let me repeat. I said a word is a part of speech. What are parts of speech? Could be a noun, could be an adjective, could be an adverb, could be a verb, any can do. Higher. We have a sentence. The dog barked very loudly. There is an article. So that is the first word. Dog is a noun. That is another word. Barked very is a phrase. And loudly, a very loudly is a predicate. So in our sentence, which is the subject, we are talking about dog. Dog is our subject. So we have two words, which is the dog, and the dog is the subject. Barked very loudly, which is our phrase, And then no, those two, the words plus the phrase makes up a clause. Are we together? Am I communicating so far so good? Anyone floating? Let me know. Anyone floating? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So let me repeat once more for better understanding. Karen, okay. I assume you wanted me to repeat. Let me go to the very beginning. I started by saying in English, we have sentences. We have sentences. A sentence is made up of a word plus a phrase plus a clause. You make up a sentence. What is a word? A word is a part of speech. Which are the examples of parts of speech in English? We mentioned we have adjectives, we have verbs, we have adverbs, we have nouns, we have articles, etc. Then we said a phrase is a short written or spoken expression, and it does not convey a complete meaning. That is a phrase. I gave an example with in the afternoon. When you talk about in the afternoon, what exactly are you talking about in the afternoon? Like an example in using the phrase. What is going to happen in the afternoon? What are you going to do in the afternoon? So it does not convey a complete meaning. What is a clause? A clause is a group of two or more words. So I said, when you have one or two words and plus a phrase, that makes up a clause. And I gave the example with the dog barked loudly. There is an article. An article is falls under a part of speech. So that gives us the word, the first word. Dog is a noun. A noun is a part of speech. That is another word. And then you have the phrase barked very loudly. What barked very loudly? Where exactly did it bark very loudly? So that is a phrase. Without the two words there, dog, we cannot understand what the phrase barked very loudly is trying to explain. What barked very loudly? That is the first question for you to get to know if this is a phrase. If you put it in its own, like you'll keep on asking yourself a question. Like let's give an example with barked very loudly and in the afternoon. Those two phrases do not give us a complete meaning, and that is what a phrase means. It's just a short written or spoken expression. So a group of two or more words, which includes a subject and any necessary predicate. That makes a clause. Now, the two words, the phrase and the clause makes up a sentence. Are we together? So far, so good. Before I go now to in details about what clauses are. Anyone floating? Kindly let me know. Haya, sawa, sawa. Haya, so let's go to now clauses. Clauses. I've given the meaning of clauses. Someone just told me she's floating. Okay. I don't want to go deeper to examples of clauses if you don't understand word, phrase, and a clause. Explain to me, where should I repeat? Shirley, kindly. Shirley, I'm waiting. I said, okay, I mean, Orwa, Orwa.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
I have a question.
Bring it on.
In the word the dog barked very loudly, you said that the predicate is very loudly. But we were told that a predicate, it starts from where there is a verb. So can you explain it deep?
Okay. Now I get your point. Yeah. Thank you. So I said a predicate is explaining more about the subject. It's explaining more about the subject. Sorry, if I said very loudly, it should be backed very loudly. So in this case, the predicate is explaining more about the dog. The dog itself is the subject. So, and the predicate, the predicate itself is backed very loudly. So it is explaining more about how the dog barked. And then I eliminated the dog. I eliminated the dog to explain. I eliminated the dog to explain more about how a phrase comes about. And that is why I said barked very loudly. And the other one that I gave as an example, in the afternoon. And that is why I was telling you, how do you get to know a phrase? A phrase, like I said, it is a short written or a spoken expression. So when you talk about barked very loudly, which is our predicate, how do you when you ask yourself what exactly barked very loudly, and how exactly or where exactly or what happened, like that is a phrase. It does not convey a complete meaning. Just a minute. So Orwa, are we together now?
Yes,
Orwa?
thank you.
Thank you as well. Back to Shali. Shali, kindly. Faith, bring in your question.
Cha, you have given us a sentence. And you have tell us what plus phrase plus clause is equals to a sentence. In this example you have given us, it is a sentence and we have a word, we have a phrase. What about the clause? Which one is the clause?
Now, the sentence I gave you, I was explaining how a clause comes about. Bado hatujafika kwa sentence. Not yet. The sentence I gave you was a clause. So I just told you, and I was about to go to the clauses first now, so that you can get to understand how a sentence comes about. So remember, we are, in Form 2 work, we have a minute. Those who are raising your hands, let me explain to her first. We have 4 types of sentences. We have simple sentences, we have compound sentences, we have complex sentences, and we have compound complex sentences. Those are 4 types of sentences in Form 2 work. In Form 1, which types of sentences did we look at? Who is going to remind us? And
affirmative sentences.
Another one, another example. Jadida?
Interrogative sentences.
Interrogative sentences. McKenna, 2297.
Imperative sentences.
Imperative sentences. Alona amepotea. Noela, 2182.
Exclamatory sentences.
Exclamatory sentences. The last one. Let me have the last one. Lillian, 2289.
Negative sentences.
Negative sentences. Thank you. So those are the type of sentences we looked at in Form 1. So when I started, I said a sentence is formed up of a word, a phrase, and a clause. So explaining, I explained what a word is. I explained what a phrase is. Now I was explaining what a clause is. And a clause is formed by either 1 or 2 words plus a phrase which works as a predicate, and then that makes up a clause. So when we get to understand, remember we started by saying we are looking at clauses. So when we get to understand how a clause is formed, we have 2 types of clauses. I'll explain how a clause is formed. Then after we understand clauses, now we get to know the types of how a sentence is formed. And that is why I said we have 4 types of sentences: a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence and a compound complex sentence. Those are the 4 types of sentences. And these sentences are formed from clauses. So you have to understand what a clause is and how a clause is formed before we even go further to the types of clauses. Are we together? The one who asked the question?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. So the sentence you're giving us, it is just a clause.
Yeah, it is a clause. It is a clause. And that is why I gave the example, the meaning of a clause. Let me repeat. I said it's a group of 2 words which indicate a subject and any necessary predicate. And that is how I was explaining in the sentence, the dog barked very loudly. Our predicate in that sentence is barked very loudly. It starts with the verb in the sentence, and the predicate explains more about the subject. Which is our subject in this case? The dog. Are we together? So the predicate barked very loudly also can be a phrase. Remember, I said a phrase is just a short written or spoken expression which does not convey a complete meaning. When you say barked very loudly, what are you talking about? What barked very loudly? Where exactly or how exactly? So when it is alone without the subject, it is just a phrase. But plus the subject and plus an article or plus any other part of speech combined together makes a clause. Sawa sawa. Are we together?
Thank you.
I am welcome. Lorna, okay, sawa. Yes.
Barked very loudly. Barked very loudly is both a predicate and a phrase.
Haya, let me go back to, okay, kuna mahali mnapotea hapa. Okay, someone is talking about sentences in Form 1. We were just listing the sentences that you learned in Form 1. Haya, thank you for that. Haya, let me explain. Who has a dictionary next to her? Maybe we can use a dictionary, will be much better.
Me.
Haya, I want you to read for us predicate, the meaning of a predicate, so that people can understand further. We are waiting.
Okay.
Ama wenye wameinua mkono wanataka kusoma dictionary.
Yes.
Let's give the one who has said okay a chance. Do you have it?
Yeah, yes, I have it.
Read the meaning of the predicate.
It's a noun. I read the noun one or the verb one.
Read the verb one. Or read everything.
A part of a sentence containing a verb that makes a sentence about the subject of the verb, such as went home.
Thank you. Haya, now. Okay, read everything.
Something to base something on a particular brief idea or principle.
Haya, someone to get the meaning of a phrase from the dictionary. The meaning of a phrase.
A short.
Read out loudly from the dictionary, I hope. But they have the same meaning with what I gave you. Esther?
It's not a dictionary.
Oh, it's a question.
No, it's on the phone.
Okay then. Read it.
A short written or
Esther unapotea.
a short written or spoken expression.
Yeah. So, I hope now we are on board together. We have said a predicate starts with a verb. Like she said, went home, and the example I gave you, barked very loudly. Now, remember when you talked about, I have said a clause is a group of two or more words, which includes a subject and any necessary predicate. So a clause can have any necessary predicate, and a clause is combined of a group of two words and a subject. So this phrase works as the phrase in the sentence. Let me make it more easier. Don't look at it like a phrase is also a predicate. Don't look at it like a phrase is also a predicate. Like a predicate should be there in a clause, because a predicate is explaining more about the subject. In this case, we have the sentence, the dog barked very loudly. Haya, let me eliminate the word, the subject, the article and the subject, the dog. You remain with someone? You remain with? When you eliminate?
Very loudly.
Yeah, barked very loudly. So if I come and maybe I call someone like Cynthia, admission 2206, I tell you, barked very loudly. I just tell you, barked very loudly. You're going to be in a shock, like, what exactly are you saying? What exactly are you trying to tell me? Or like explain further, what is this that barked very loudly? So that sentence is, when it is a predicate, it is functioning as more of explaining about the subject, when it is in a sentence that entails a clause. Are we together? But if the sentence, if not like the sentence itself, the words, if it remains itself the way it is, barked very loudly, it is a phrase. Why? Because a phrase is just a short written or spoken expression that does not convey a meaning. But a predicate comes in when you have the clause. The dog barked very loudly. The predicate in our sentence is barked very loudly. It is explaining more about the subject. Which is the subject in our sentence? The dog. I mean dog, sorry, not the dog. Dog. Which are our two words? The and dog. Baraza, a minute. The and dog. So there is a part of speech which is, now I'm going back to where we started. There is a part of speech which is an article. Dog is a noun, which is our subject, the main subject in the sentence, and also a word which is a noun. So the dog barked very loudly is our clause. Haya, Baraza, bring in your hand back, or tell me what you want to say.
Excuse me, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just say a clause is a part of a sentence?
Yes, exactly. And that is why I said a sentence is formed by, a full complete sentence is formed by someone.
A word plus a phrase plus a clause.
Yeah, that forms a sentence. I know we are going to look at types of sentences. Let me just give an example with maybe one type of sentence so you can understand how a sentence comes about. So we have a simple sentence. I said there are 4 types of sentences: a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence, and a compound complex sentence. A simple sentence. Now you're going to tie my hands because I had to explain the examples of clauses. And let me just touch a bit of what I was to explain before we have a sentence. Now, under clauses, like the one who has said, a clause is just a part of a sentence, but also a clause is formed from a word and a phrase. So you have a word plus a phrase plus a clause, you get a sentence. Under clauses, we have two types of clauses. We have two types of clauses. Get that? We have two types of clauses. We have independent clauses. Now that is what we were to look at. Independent clauses. And number two, subordinate clauses. Subordinate clauses. Number one, I said independent clauses. And number two, subordinate clauses. Subordinate clauses. They are also called dependent clauses. Higher. What is, well, I'll give you the note, don't worry. What is an independent clause? An independent clause is that sentence which expresses a complete thought and can therefore stand on its own. Independent, inajisimamia. Independent clause. It is a sentence, it is a clause, sorry. It is a clause that expresses a complete thought. For example, when we say, let me take someone's name. Let me take Angel 2249. Angel is very intelligent. Angel is very intelligent. So what can we tell about that sentence? Is it expressing a complete thought? Someone? What can we tell from Angel is very intelligent?
It expresses a complete thought.
Yeah, it expresses a complete thought. It tells us more about it gives us it explains more about Angel. This certain girl who is called Angel is intelligent. So that is an independent clause. It can stand on its own. That is what an independent clause is. Higher. I said I'll give an example with a sentence, maybe. We have a simple sentence. A simple sentence, it contains only one independent clause. Now, when you have only one independent clause, that makes up a simple sentence. Hiya, Abigail, 2224. Question or maybe an addition?
Are we writing the notes you're giving?
Don't write fast. Don't write fast. I'm explaining first. Let's first understand, and then we are going to write later. Hiya. So, I was saying, I said under clauses, we have two types of clauses, independent clauses and subordinate clauses. If by any chance you don't get to finish the types of clauses, don't worry, we will finish. First, the first thing you need to grasp when it comes to sentences, understand what a word is, understand what a phrase is, understand what a clause is. And you need to know what a clause is for you to get to know the examples of clauses. And I have said we have two examples of clauses. That is independent clause and subordinate clause. An independent clause stands on its own. Are we together? For example, let me give an example with Maria loves mangoes. Maria loves mangoes. Hiya. On what parts of speech will Maria fall? Maria loves mangoes.
Noun.
Maria is a noun. Maria is a noun, a proper noun. Loves. Jedida.
Adjective.
Loves is
Adjective.
Baraza. Thank you, Jedida. Baraza.
Verb.
Yeah, loves is verb. Mangoes. Michelle.
Noun.
So we have Maria loves mangoes. Higher. If I eliminate Maria, then you remain with loves mangoes. Loves mangoes. I can't tell someone like Karen 2187, loves mangoes. Then you'll be like, what loves mangoes? Who loves mangoes? Or what are you trying to explain? So loves mangoes is just a phrase. Sawa. Haya. Maria plus loves mangoes makes up a what?
A clause.
A clause, exactly. Maria plus loves mangoes makes up a clause. But with that, Maria is just a word. Loves mangoes is a phrase. And also in the sentence, Maria loves mangoes. So this loves mangoes explains, this explains more about this Maria. What does she do? She loves mangoes. So Maria loves mangoes is a complete, it expresses a complete thought. So that is an independent clause. And a simple sentence contains only one independent clause. So Maria loves mangoes is an example of a simple sentence. Are we together?
Excuse me, teacher. Yes.
Yes.
A predicate is the same as a phrase.
Here I come back again. Let me go back to the meaning. I said a clause is a group. Listen carefully. A group of two or more words which include a subject and any necessary predicate. So you can have any necessary predicate in a clause. What is a predicate? We read in the dictionary. Tukasema, a predicate explains more about the subject in the sentence. And then I said, what is a phrase? A phrase, when you eliminate the word and the phrase remains in its own, like in itself, like just alone. And it does not express any form of let me say any form or any part of a sentence that does not express a complete thought when it stands on its own. That is a phrase. Maybe let me put it like that. So do not when you have in mind in the example, like when you try and say that a phrase and a predicate are the same, then you're going to confuse yourself. The only thing you need to know is a predicate in a clause explains more about the subject. The dog barked very loudly. Our predicate in this sentence, which starts with a verb, is barked very loudly. The only function of the predicate in that sentence, it is explaining more about the subject. Then when you want to know what a phrase is, a phrase, like for example, I said Angel is very intelligent. When I eliminate Angel is, and then I remain with very intelligent. For example, if I tell you very intelligent, then you're going to ask me what exactly, what are you talking about? Like, what is very intelligent? So a phrase is just a short written or spoken expression which does not convey a complete meaning. So just have that. And then remember, for you to have a clause, you need one or two words plus a phrase and any necessary predicate and a subject in your sentence. Are we together? And that is why I gave the example of maybe a sentence for you to get to understand. A simple sentence entails only one main independent clause. Na nimesema an independent clause stands on its own. Are we together?
Yeah.
That is a simple sentence. So, and I said, we have 4 types of sentences in Form 2 work because now we are in Form 2 syllabus. That is simple sentence. So don't worry. I'm taking you bit by bit, baby steps. We have simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. So we start with the single unit, that is the smallest of them all. That is the simple sentence. Simple sentence entails only one independent clause. Haya, going back to types of clauses, but I see like our time won't allow us. Haya, I said we have in clauses we have two types of sentences. Independent clauses and dependent and subordinate clauses. Haya, write the meaning of independent clause. Haya, write the meaning of independent clause. Independent clause. Have this example first. Mbitha is Enzo is very intelligent. You can use your name. Enzo is very intelligent. Enzo is very intelligent. Enzo is very intelligent. Enzo is very intelligent. Angel is very intelligent. Angel is very intelligent. But you can use your friend's name, your sister's name, or let me use someone else's name, or let me use someone else's name. Angel is very intelligent, but let me use another name. Waiku is even more intelligent. You can use anyone's name. Angel is very intelligent, but Waiku is even more intelligent. Waiku is even more intelligent. Waiku is even more intelligent. So that makes a complete sentence now. Now that makes a complete sentence because it has as you can see, it has two independent clauses. The first independent clause is Angel is very intelligent. The other clause is Waiku is even more intelligent. So what do we call? Hello? Cha. Cha ameenda wapi tena? Labda msikia. Kwa nini wewe? Chakuambia. Karen.
Hivi wacha mushene.
Hivi zima video hata microphone.
Yvonne. Yvonne. Mambo.
Poa.
Tiffany anakusalimia.
Mesalimika. Salimie.
Apiga. Sema.
Masi.
Ivan.
Masi.
Nani ananiita? Yes.
Ni mimi Faith.
Mambo Faith.
Poa, nipigie huko nipigie.
Nilipigia sister yako akashika.
Umesalimiwa.
Nakuambia
Sasa ukiongea
mwambie nitakupigia leo.
I am back. Wewe, nimerudi. Yvonne, make me the host. Nifanye watu wanyamaze. So it's just, I think our time is a bit limited. Na naona watu pia wamepotea kama mimi. Anyway, let me just conclude a bit on this, and then maybe we can continue on Monday. So what you need to know so far so good is independent clauses. They stand on its own and they express a complete thought. That is what you need to know about an independent clause. And a sentence is formed by a word, a phrase, a clause that forms a sentence. So I said a simple sentence is formed by one independent clause. A compound sentence is formed by two independent clauses. So that was just bringing in another topic that we are going to look at later in future for you to understand. So you have to first understand how clauses work for you to understand how they make up sentences. Are we together? Tuko pamoja?
Yes.
Yes.
So far so good. Let me leave it. Okay, thank you. Let me leave it at there for you to internalize what we have just talked about today. So meanwhile, as you eat your weekend, you can't eat your weekend. That is mother tongue translation. As you're enjoying your weekend, I just try to take the notes, the bit of the notes I've given, understand a word, understand a phrase, understand a clause. Sawa. And then when we meet again, I will continue on independent clauses and subordinate clauses. Meanwhile, like I have said, we are taking baby steps. So usiharakishe. Understand the first introduction before we go to the other bit of independent clauses and subordinate clauses. So any question? So far, so good. Do not leave the class without understanding anything. Yvonne, mute kila mtu isipokuwa mimi.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Ask the question.
Okay, I'm still like a bit not understanding on phrase, like the phrase. How does a phrase come in a sentence now there?
A phrase. Haya.
Yes.
Give me a sentence about you.
Natasha loves sleeping.
Natasha loves sleeping. That is the sentence you've given me. Yvonne,
Yes.
Yvonne, I'm having a bit of some difficulty. Yvonne 2195. Either you mute everyone and let me unmute myself, or you make me the host so that I can inaweza kuwa easier for me to, and you admit everyone. So Natasha loves sleeping. Natasha.
Yes.
Natasha, eliminate your word, eliminate your name in the sentence.
Loves sleeping.
Haya. Loves sleeping. Tell me more about that love sleeping.
Yeah, it's not yet. It's like somehow pending. Like who loves sleeping?
Yeah, exactly. Now we need a bit of some more information to get to understand this loves sleeping. Sawa. So
Yes.
that loves sleeping is a phrase. Sawa. That
Yes.
loves sleeping is a phrase. So go back to the meaning. Read for me what I gave you, the meaning of a phrase.
A phrase is a short written or spoken expression and does not convey a complete meaning.
Aya, sasa umeelewa?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Any other person floating? Or has not understood what you've looked at today? I want you to prepare for the next lesson. What do you have? Physics. Yeah, physics. So I think we are good. We are good now. So the next time we meet, we'll finish on the clauses. Sawa sawa.
Yes.
Enjoy your weekend. Have a fantastic weekend.
Same to you.
Thank you. And be good girls.
Bye.
Bye. And be good girls.
Bye.
Have a
Excuse me, guys. The film is Meka should come forward. Jennifer Mwangi, Philomena Masharia, Kevin Kamau, Badia Karanja. Follow me, you prefect. Me are written. Write me was make me was speaking myself. Look at this one. Me are not speaking myself. Me are speaking. You, I will not give you God the right. Excuse me, guys. The film is Meka should.
If I could say anything to you, it would be relax.
I don't remember when I took him there. When I go out on, imagine I could not see time. You tell me that you go there. I need to put the one that I see and I'm never back. I am put a finger down, emotionally.
Are you zero to 10K? Do you know all of this trends?
Masi huko. Masi.
Come on. Don. Do you know all of this trends?
Now we go on this.
Angel. Find the example.
Umesikia intelligent.
Yeah, intelligent.
Deski.
Niaje?
Onisu. Hey, Susan.
Ini Karen.
British.
Wow, Natasha.
Natasha.
Enjoy udaya chakula. Angel. 22:49. Tumbo tu.
Lazima tukule. Haya.
Ritazela.
Bast.
Ritazela.
Yeah.
Salimia mtu wako.
We Karen. Ha? Si tunaendelea nini na kusumbua?
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Rita.
Kuna watoto wana dance hapa.
Nani bashi yako?
Eh.
Ai.
Walai.
Rita, umeturn how old? Rita?
Yeah.
Umeturn how old?
Usicheke lakini.
Sema hata kama ni 12 si mbaya.
Guy. 15.
Oh.
Zeka tu.
Guy, Mati ni mbaya. Enjoy uski.
Nini? Wewe unaona kuna mtu ana kuna tu anaimba huku?
Hadi mimi naona.
Ndio naona. Wewe nasimeka wimbo simuimbe.
Enjoy.
Umekea wimbo.
Kind of love.
Hapana, isha watu. Unaimisha watu.
Uni don.
Ni don walai.
Ni 23
don.
Ki walai.
Baidha.
Ninashangaa ni nani?
Anakaa don ile hujaiona.
Kwanza hiyo kona ni ya don.
Kampaya.
Walai.
Nimesema mimi.
Lakini yeye kwanza vile amevuna.
Enjoy wewe.
Uni don.
Ni don. Paka hiyo space ni yake.
Aki don't let me follow.
Don.
Kwanza hiyo kona ni ya Don.
tunakujua.
Yes.
Tunakujua Don.
Hiyo ni yeye.
Ni wewe Don.
Hizo macho kwanza. Tiki macho.
Naanza saa 8.
Tiki macho mpaka vile anashika simu ni yeye.
Naanza saa 8.
Ni Don.
Don.
Rita.
Thank you.
Ameti ni Andrew 23.
Rita.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm Don's friend. She told me she won't come to class.
Umeng'ang'ana, huwezi fake sauti, shinda hapo.
Natasha. Kuna haters. Natasha, hebu dance, mekaa wimbo.
Tupigia kelele bro.
Kelele.
Don.
Wacha tu hadi ni Don. Aki mpaka nimekasirika.
Tutakupiga neema usiku.
Uko Don.
Don.
Andrew. Don, wewe mjinga ndio kaona huyu. Don. Ili Don ni yeye. Jana. Yai.
Njoo. Umeshikwa na stress.
Shida.
Ni mimi basi.
Mpaka umevaa hoodie. Don.
Ni nini? Amtacho ni enjoy life.
Andrew.
Ni nini?
2312.
2312.
Aya, ngoja nini Andrew, wewe mkiende rafiki yangu.
Basi.
Aya.
Basi.
Umejiuza.
Basi. Sasa. Umenyamaza. Sawa, nakupigia leo.
Sawa. Kuna mwambie piga basi atoigo wimbo.
Sawa.
Wewe kwani Vero umezima muziki?
Ujasikia ameambiwa ati anamekia watu brace.
Natasha.
Lesson inaanza saa ngapi?
Ndio the PS5.
The looks tajui kudanganya.
Jiandu 2012.
Karen.
Au 23.
Najua mko mshabu.
Dai.
Oi.
Natasha wewe.
Akina Natasha.
Ndio naona umeshikwa na stress.
Mbona?
Ulikuwa umembook.
Kwenda huko. Natasha.
Pressure.
Because your book, man.
Acha kuchora.
Pressure.
Tena mama yake akaingia. Don. Mama yake akaingia kwa mlango.
Ndio.
Yeye anateleza.
Chungulia tu.
Mtolee kitabu kwa chini.
Haya, Vero eka muziki.
Nani yako na tablet ya CBC?
Eti ni ya CBC ama ni yangu?
Toka ni ya CBC.
CBC.
Ya yellow.
Ya CBC.
Ni ya CBC.
Wango.
Ni ya CBC. Ni nini mnadanganya hapo?
Lia.
Ya CBC.
Mnyamaze msome.
Kia, unakomja mkaze.
Zime mnatusumbua.
Mimi nimetoka, mimi nimeenda.
Andrew.
Nimeenda.
23
nimeenda.
Angel.
Don.
Leburu ukae chini.
Don.
Yeah.
Unapea Ian kompe.
Ati.
Unapea Ian kompe.
Kwani amelala?
Darasa. Mimi nyamaza. Ati Natasha.
Nakuona.
Nini?
Imeruka.
Imefanya nini?
Zero my name.
So many physics.
Physics ndio next.
Yes.
Guys, sasa nakuwa Collins sasa we.
Andrew jenda.
Ati Collins. Hizo zilipita na wakati. Zilipita na wakati hizo.
Ai. Karibu yuko satisfied.
Kai akijenjo.
Pressure.
Nini?
Mosina.
Pressure.
Sema.
Utanijibu.
Kukujibu wapi? Si ndio mimi.
Utanijibu sawa.
Ongea.
Pressure, school father kwaje?
Ati?
Father kwaje?
Nani?
We're going to treat it.
Nani?
School father.
Kai na shindwe. Unaona
Natasha.
Nini?
Natasha. Aje?
Kwenda.
Natasha aje?
Basi ndo.
Goya kuna skutai soma nini? Tuachane tu na physics taki.
Sijui soma hadi business na geography.
Na agriculture.
Yes.
Na CRE.
Akiwa light.
Na CRE.
Next
week. Goyeka.
Ama.
Jangan kupake mafuta. Enjo. Jangan kupake nywele mafuta.
Aki Natasha.
Karen.
Yes.
Niaje?
Niko poa Andrew.
Tunajua ni mimi. Nini? Ati kwanza iko nani yangu wote.
Ndio.
Kwanza
mimi ndio nimesema, nimejua tu
Mpaka mlango.
Baseti anakuja.
Wanga.
Ameteka.
I want to dismantle. Dismantling.
Wait.
Yes, good morning to all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, let us all have our microphones in mute mode. Let us mute our microphones. Mute your microphones. Pressure, mute your microphone. Pressure, mute your microphone, and the rest. Yes, let us mute our microphones, all of us. Pressure, mute your microphone, 2273. And remove that cape. Remember, you are in class. Cannot have you. Yes, thank you. Shani, your video must be on. And the rest, Nicole, your video is required to be on. Yes, I hope you can get me clearly. I hope you can get me clearly. Very good. Yes, thank you for hosting me. And I think now I can be able to proceed. Natali, yes, Beatrice, Ndenya, thank you for your videos are on. Brenda, Duta, Jasmine, Prudence, and the rest. Well, thank you once more for joining this lesson. A little bit late, but I will make sure that I cover for the 5 minutes or so that were spent before we were able to comfortably log in to this class of the day. Now, before I proceed, let me first of all get to know from Rita 2170.
Yes.
Rita, you have just joined the class. Yes, I would like to know from your side, did you access the notes?
Yes.
Very good. Could we be having anyone in class without the notes? Anyone in class without the notes?
No.
No.
Okay. I can see one hand up. I don't know who is this. Two of them. Can you speak up? Let me know who are these people without the notes, or perhaps they have something to say. Diana, proceed. Diana, your hand is up.
I didn't get the notes.
Okay, so that means up to date, you have never received any notes, right? Diana?
Yes.
Hakuna notes umewaiona?
Yes.
Is this your first time in class?
I didn't get her number.
Since when?
Yeah.
Yes, and you have not bothered to find one.
No,
Diana, that is
I wanted to ask her.
Diana, that is a failure. Diana, that is a failure on your side. We are in week 2, actually towards the end, and you have never accessed the notes.
I wanted to ask her to send the number.
So if she doesn't send the number, you are okay. Are you in the school portal?
I asked last time.
As usual, I say that the notes are usually on the school portal, on the school, or on our official website. That is the WhatsApp platform. Actually, yesterday, most of you will agree with me, during the maths lesson, I was able to send a message to all of us, and I told you that I have uploaded the notes. Is that correct? 2213.
Yes.
Yes. So, my friend Diana and the rest, sasa muwajibike. Make sure that you find those notes. It is very unfair that up to week 2, that you still cannot access the notes, and yet in each and every class, I usually communicate. Well, I can see now the hands are disappearing because probably most of us are learning their mistakes. That withstanding, if you don't get the notes from Natani, or you don't get the notes from the website, then you can reach out to me. I'm in the group. That's still another option, and you'll be able to access those notes. Those of us who are sending me messages that we have some people in the waiting room, let them be. It depends on why. There is a good reason why they are on the waiting room. Somebody somewhere is working on that. Thank you. Now, away from that, I think now we can proceed and probably see what we have for the day. Yesterday, we were looking at some aspects about what we called troubleshooting. And in troubleshooting, we were trying to ask ourselves, supposing the path of current taken is a certain path given in a certain direction using some arrows, what would happen if a switch is closed? What would happen if you have several bulbs? And at the same time, also check whether there is a probability of what we called a short circuit. On that note, let us move on. Somebody says, please mwenye akona notes za physics anitumie. Tafadhali mwenye ametuma hiyo message, I would say you are joking, because in that platform we already have the notes. Is that so? Mili 2227.
Yes.
Is it true that on WhatsApp we have the notes?
Yes.
Kwa hivyo hao wenye wanatuma hizo messages, please find something better to do. I noticed that some of us, we are joking because kwa platform the notes are there. Kwa WhatsApp the notes are there. And yet again, we are not making good use of these notes. At the same time, even when we are in class, we are also supposed to be making some simple notes here and there. So I think unanimously the whole class can agree I have done my work as far as the notes are concerned. Is that a true, class?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So please advise the others.
Yes.
Advise the others wawache kutusumbua. And I believe some of those ni wale wenye ndio wanapost vitu zingine hapo fani kwa nini. And anyway, let me not get into that. But whoever is doing that, we have noticed you. Please, can you stop? Stop posting those funny things that are, wasting our time and directing us to some things which will just, misdirect our minds. Anyway, away from that, I did not come with a quarrel. I am a man of peace and I like peace. Only that I like us staying focused to why we are in this Zoom group or in this Zoom platform. The purpose is majorly education and at the same time also advising you. If I fail to advise you, you may go wrong and we are not here for that. Anyway, away from that, let me look at what we had and proceed. Yes, yesterday, this is what we had. This is what we had yesterday. And yesterday we were trying to look at what we call good conductors, bad conductors, and what we call poor conductors. At the same time, we were trying to ask ourselves, what are these materials? Look at the screen. What are these materials that can be connected across point AB and the bulb continues to light? Okay, let me pick an annotation here. And there you are. Supposing I close this switch, and then what are these types of materials that cannot be connected between point A and point B so that the bulb lights? If we have such materials, then the general name for all those materials is what we call conductors. Apparently, if you connect a material between point A and point B and the bulb does not light, then that is called an insulator. Number 2, if you connect a material between point A and point B and the bulb lights very brightly, then it means that is a good conductor. Because a good conductor has what we call many free electrons or many mobile electrons. Again, if you connect between point A and point B, you connect a material such that the brightness of the bulb is not too bright with respect to the voltage applied or supplied for that matter, then such materials, we call them poor conductors. In this discussion, we were able to see the differences between good conductors, poor conductors, and what we call insulators. Let me clear this and perhaps be able to go through the same. Okay, here let me pick an eraser somewhere. Okay, there we are. Stop that. Right. Let me ask one of us to read what we have very briefly, and then we move to the discussion of the day. Susan, 2232. Susan, 2232. Start from here. Yes, start from this point, the materials, and proceed.
The materials which, when connected, the bulb lights are known as conductors. Examples are copper, silver, and aluminium. Those materials which, when connected, the bulb does not light. They do not allow electric change to pass through them, are called insulators. Examples of insulators are rubber, plastic, and dry wood. Conductors can either be good or poor. Examples of good conductors are silver, copper, and aluminum. Examples of poor conductors are graphite. Metals are in general good conductors of electricity. They have a large number of free electrons moving randomly within them, as shown in the figure. When the cells are connected across the ends of the conductors, the free electrons move in the direction as indicated in figure 10.18.
Very good. That paragraph sums up what we discussed about good conductors, poor conductors, and insulators. And you can be able to clearly see the difference between the two. So there you are. We also went ahead and we showed the convectional direction of electrons. We said that they move counter current. June Commander 2202. Remove that cape, please. And you read this paragraph here. When electrons, proceed.
When electrons are made of drift in a given direction, current is said to be flowing through a conductor. Convectionally, current is taken to flow in the direction opposite to that of electron flow.
Very good. Grace 2226, poor conductors.
Poor conductors like graphite have fewer free electrons. Insulators have their electrons tightly bound to the nuclei of the atoms. Because they cannot conduct electric current, insulators are used as cover materials for good conductors. There exists another group of materials whose electrical properties fall between those of conductors and insulators. Such materials are called semiconductors. Examples of semiconductors are silicon and germanium. It is these elements that form the basis of diodes, transistors, and integrated circuits, which have wide applications.
Yes, up to that point. Thank you very much. So students, generally what we are discussing here is, what are these materials that which when connected across a circuit to complete a circuit can be able to make the bulb light? That means they will allow the free flow of electrons. So one, we have understood that all good conductors, they will make that bulb to light. Number two, we also have poor conductors. The bulb will light, but not very brightly. It is also good for a student to be able to mention examples in each and every case. For example, if I ask good conductors, you should be in a position to talk about silver, copper, aluminium, etc. When we talk about poor conductors, the best poor conductor we have is called graphite. And number three, we have insulators. Insulators are these materials which do not allow electric charges to pass through them because they do not have free electrons. And the best examples are plastic, rubber, and drywood, and so on and so on. Those very important three different categories are very useful when you are differentiating between materials to be used as conductors and poor conductors. Now, yesterday, by the time we were winding up the class, I happened to ask a question here, and I was asking this. Supposing instead of now using solid materials, I use something here, which is a container, and inside that container, I dip terminals A and B, and I ask myself, if I put a liquid inside this container, let me put a liquid like water, for example. If I will put some water inside this container, and then I happen to close this switch here, the question I was asking is this: will the bulb light? Sophia, 2211, what's your opinion? Yes, Sophia says no. Why?
I mean, yes.
Okay, according to her, it is yes. Another person, please. Can see some hands up. Proceed, please.
No.
No? Why do you think no? Okay, very good. Now, that is water. Supposing I replace water with another liquid that I call sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide. Now, don't worry about those symbols. Just know it is a chemical name. And maybe some of us have been able to access that. Sodium hydroxide. Now, instead of water, I put now sodium hydroxide. Well, you'll be able to note that in a way, the bulb will behave as if it wants to light, surprisingly. Now, if I put another liquid, there is another liquid, call it something like sodium chloride. Sodium chloride. Now, you will note that when I put these terminals in a liquid by the name sodium chloride, what happens is that the bulb lights. Water, the bulb may not light. Sodium hydroxide, very dimly. Now that tells you something, students, that we have some liquids which conduct electricity. So water is a poor conductor of electricity. Therefore, the bulb will light dimly. But sodium chloride is a liquid that will make or will allow electrons to flow within that liquid, and the bulb will light, actually very brightly. Now, this is what we are trying to demonstrate. We are trying to demonstrate that in addition to using conductors like the ones that we have used. Let us say conductors like good conductors, metals. We also have some liquids that allow flow of electrons. Those liquids that allow flow of electrons, we call them electrolytes. We call them electrolytes. And this is what I want to demonstrate down here. So it is not only solids that conduct electricity. No, we also have some other liquids that allow flow of electrons. Let me ask Michelle Cheruto, 2178. I'm on the screen. Can you read from that point? Some liquids.
Some liquids like dilute sulfuric acid, sodium chloride solution, and potassium hydroxide are good conductors of electric charge. These liquids are called electrolytes. Others like paraffin and cooking oil are poor conductors.
Very good. It is therefore important for a student to understand that point very clearly. Just like in metals, we have good conductors and poor conductors of electricity. We also have some liquids which are good conductors and some which are bad conductors. Remember, the word conductor means that either way, that material, that liquid will allow electric current to flow. But if it is a good electrolyte or it is a good conductor of electricity, like sulfuric acid and sodium chloride solution, those two solutions will allow current to flow and the bulb will light very brightly. At the same time, we have poor conductors of electricity, which are in liquid form. Such are said to be poor conductors of electric charge in solution form. And a good example is paraffin and cooking oil. Kwa hivyo, in this diagram that we have here, if you happen to put a liquid between terminal A and terminal B, it depends on the type of liquid that you are using. For example, if it is sodium chloride or potassium hydroxide, the bulb will light very brightly. But if you put water and something like paraffin, those are poor conductors. So you find that the bulb is either too dim or it does not even light. Therefore, students should know that it is not only solids that conduct electricity. We also have some liquids that allow flow of current. And those liquids, we call them electrolytes. On that note, we want to proceed from this point and look at what we have for the day. What we have for the day, we are going to discuss about some of these electrolytes and how they conduct. So I hope every student has noted one good example of what we call electrolytes. And a good electrolyte in this case, very important, is dilute sulfuric acid. Please note we use the word dilute. If you don't use the word dilute, you use the word sulfuric acid generally, you will not get a mark. This is science. I said it is usually specific. A student should be able to give at least 2 examples of what we call electrolytes. And I've said one which is very important is dilute sulfuric acid, sodium chloride, and potassium hydroxide. Remember, they are all solutions. Or in chemistry, I believe you talk about the word aqueous solution.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes. I'm waiting for your question.
Excuse me, teacher.
Proceed. I have excuse. Yes. Amor, yes, I'm listening.
Excuse me, Cha.
Yes. Proceed.
Your voice is breaking.
My voice
Your
is?
voice is breaking. Your voice is
My voice is doing what? Wait, kuna mtu anaongea? Okay. Yes.
Chair, may I have a question?
Proceed.
Chair, I have a question.
Let us start with Yator. Yator,
Chair, I have a question.
proceed.
Is mercury a good conductor or a insulator?
Mercury is a good conductor. Actually, mercury is metal in liquid form. So mercury is a liquid that allows electrons to flow. So mercury is a good example.
Thank you.
The other person was Natalie.
I was asking, kwani tunasema like water see a good conductor of electricity na kwa kukinyesha tunaambiwa don't walk kwa maji kwa sababu like hiyo lightning inaweza pass through.
Okay, the word is poor conductor. Get that, Natalie? There is good conductor, there is bad conductor. We don't say that it does not conduct. It conducts, but its conductivity is very poor. So that is why ukisimama kwa maji, kumbuka ukisimama kwa maji na kunanyesha or imeconnectiwa kwa an electric cable, there is one thing that is happening. Current is flowing. It's only that the current that will be flowing will not flow uniformly. Kwa hivyo ukisimama kwa maji, it is like you become an operating device. So that if current is flowing and there is a bulb connected to that, the setup, the way it may be. If there is a bulb, it may light. But if you are a human being, since you are now the device along the path of current, kama wewe ni bulb, unawaka. Kama wewe ni binadamu, unapigishwa somersault. Story inaishia wapi? Hapo. Thank you. Good question. I saw, is it Chepngeno or who? Somebody had raised her hand. Yes.
Excuse me, teacher. You have said water is a poor conductor of electricity. And yesterday you said that semiconductor is a poor conductor of electricity, and yet the bulb lights and it is dim, and water you have said the bulb does not light and it's a poor conductor of electricity.
Okay, my dear, I want to say this. Don't misquote me, but let me put it right so that you understand. Maybe you want the clarification. Semiconductor is a semi-metalloid. This is a metal which either reacts by gaining or losing electrons. So when you put a semiconductor within that complete circuit, the bulb may or may not light. That is one. Water. We have said, first of all, water is a poor conductor. Kukua poor conductor, si kusema si conductor. One, you should understand it is a conductor. So it allows electrons to do what? To flow. But the way it allows electrons to flow is what is giving us the property of a poor conductor, because it does not have many free electrons. By the way, in water we don't talk about electrons. We are going to discuss this because we are headed to that part. It is called ions. I hope now I have made that clearly.
Yes.
Sawa sawa? Very good. And the last one is it Shiko Irene?
Chai had a question. Now, because mercury is a metal, can we clarify that mercury as an electrolyte?
Yes, when it is in liquid forms.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, hata kwa thermometer huwa iko in liquid form, si ndio? Lakini tulisema it is that mercury is what in liquid form. That is when you touch the tip of that bar or the what we call the thermometer, the mercury will rise. Awesome. Yes. Very good. Anyone else? Okay, fine. Yeah, we still have who? Brenda and Verna. Brenda? Brenda. Okay, then we go to Verna, if Brenda is not ready. Verna?
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes?
Is it that all poor conductors are light above?
Is it that all poor conductors?
Can light above?
Not necessarily. And if they do, the bulb will be lighting very dimly. Or even that dimly, you may not even be able to see how dim it is. But current is flowing and the bulb can light. Sawa sawa? Yes. Okay. Then I think I've answered you now. Unless we don't have another person. Let me now proceed and share the screen and see what we have for the day. Just a moment. There you are, KLB book 1. And there it is. Okay. So we want to look at those simple cells and circuits. And now we look at electrolytes. So as we proceed, let me ask somebody here, Susan 2232, what is an electrolyte? Susan 2232, what is an electrolyte? Okay, it seems that Susan is not in class. Let us have her in the waiting room. So we said we have to be in class. At least you should say something. You should respond. Or even let me know whether you are in class, Susan. Okay, we have about 8 of us who have raised their hands. Yes. Let me give an opportunity to who? Okay. All right, yes, proceed. Can see we have enough hands. Anyone, please?
Liquid. An electrolyte.
An electrolyte is?
A liquid that conducts electric charges.
Very good. Or allows the flow of currents. Very good. Let me ask Nicole 2196. And for the last time, Nicole, I'll not warn you again about your cape. Nicole, give us an example of a good electrolyte.
Dilute sulfuric acid.
Very good. I like the way you have stated. The word is dilute sulfuric acid. Faith 2236. Another good example of an electrolyte.
Sodium chloride.
Sodium chloride solution. Kumbuka sodium chloride in solid form ni chumvi ya kawaida. Table salt. But sodium chloride solution is now the sodium chloride ikiwa imewekwa ndani ya maji. So inakuwa ni solution. Those are examples of good electrolytes. What about examples of poor electrolytes? Natasha 2180. Examples of poor electrolytes. Natasha? Natasha is not responding.
Yes, teacher.
2180, an example of poor electrolytes? Natasha?
Yes.
Actually, yes, the answers are on the screen. We have paraffin, cooking oil, and water, of course. Very good. Now, today we move on and we look at sources of electricity. We look at sources of electricity. Let me ask somebody who has not said something today to read for us. We have Damaris 2197. Damaris, sources of electricity, proceed.
The main source of electricity present are chemical cells and generators driven by water, hydro, steam, geothermal, and fuel oil. The alternative sources gaining prominence are wind-driven generators and solar cells. Apart from cells, batteries, and generators, other sources of electricity include solar cells or panels, thermocouples, and some crystals when under pressure, piezoelectric effect. The main sources of electricity presently are chemical cells, generators, and solar cells. Figure 10.19 shows some of these sources.
Very good. Yes, the last part, the main sources of electricity presently are chemical cells, generators, solar cells. Chemical cells, a good example is this one that we have here, or something that we call a lead acid accumulator. Lead acid accumulator, hiyo ni battery ya gari. This one you can see here. Lead acid accumulator, battery ya gari. Tuko na dry cells. Then we have the ordinary one, or the most prominent example that we have nowadays. That is the ordinary phone cell. And that is why actually your phone is grammatically known as a cell phone, because it is using some cell. It is powered by some cell, which is chemical in nature. Then we have solar cells, and I believe most of us, those in the rural areas, are using what we call solar cells to generate electricity, or solar energy for that matter. Christine 2193, what are chemical cells? Read on the screen. Christine 2193. Read on the screen. Christine, you are reading the screen. But I think your network is unstable. Just a moment. I'm just feeling that the internet on your side is unstable. We still have some echoes?
Yes.
Okay, let us first of all mute our microphones, all of us, so that I can know the source of that echo. Okay, Christine, you can get me now clearly? Christine?
Yes. Yes.
Yes? Can you proceed now? Christine, we are not getting you clearly. Christine, hatukupati vizuri. Okay. Chemical cells produce an electromotive force as a result of chemical reaction. There are two types of chemical cells, primary and secondary. I hope now I am clear, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now that tells you we have two types of chemical cells. One is primary cell and another one is secondary cells. Now, primary cells cannot be renewed once the chemicals are exhausted, while secondary cells can be renewed by charging. I want to give a very nice example between what we are calling primary cells and secondary cells. And to use that, I will use a demonstration on the screen here. From this demonstration, the car battery that you can see is a good example of a secondary cell. The Duracell dry cells that you can see, they are normally of two types. One is rechargeable, the other one is not rechargeable. So ile rechargeable ni ile tunatumia kwa microphone. I am sure most of you have interacted with that. But the one that is dry, once it has been used up, for instance, the one used in an ordinary torch, once it is exhausted, once it has been used up, once the chemical inside it has been used up, it has been exhausted, it cannot be renewed again. So the only thing that you can do is to throw it away or dispose properly. Now, the phone, the ordinary phone battery is a good example of a secondary cell. Why? Because once it has, the charge has dropped, you can recharge it fully to 100 or the value indicated as per the rating. Kwa hivyo tukisema secondary cells, these are cells that can be used again and again and again when they have been recharged. The best example of a primary cell is the ordinary dry cell. That one, once it is exhausted, you cannot use it again. And that serves as a very good difference between what we call primary cells and dry cells. Very good. Now you are told primary cells cannot be renewed once the chemical in them is exhausted, while secondary cells can be renewed by charging. Now we have a good example here on the screen. On the screen, the conductor that is being used is dilute sulfuric acid. 2188, somebody by the name Kibet. What name did we give to dilute sulfuric acid as a conductor?
Electrolyte.
Very good. So in this case, we are using dilute sulfuric acid as our electrolyte. Now, we have zinc and we have copper plate. So let us say the copper plate and the zinc plate, both of them are our metals that are used for conductivity. So we can say we have terminal A and terminal B. Let's say this is terminal A, there it is, and this is terminal B. Now, terminal A, we have zinc plate, and terminal B, we have copper plate. And we know in an ordinary circuit, we must have a positive terminal and a negative terminal. So let me try and get a response from your side. A response from your side, I want to know this. Between zinc and copper, which one is reactive than the other? Anyone, please? Which one is more reactive than the other? Yator, your hand is up.
Zinc. I'm trying. Copper.
Okay, someone says copper, someone says zinc. Okay, now, this is it. Zinc is more reactive than copper, in case you didn't know, now you know. So the metal that is more reactive, we normally give it what we call a positive terminal. And the one which is less reactive, we give it a negative terminal. I hope you have understood that very clearly. The metal which is more reactive, we give it a positive terminal. The one which is less reactive, we give it a negative terminal. Now, in chemistry, I hope you have learned about what we call cathode and what we call anode. Let me ask that again. Have you learned about these two things? Cathode and anode? Or you have not, eh? Ah, very good. No problem. I'll teach you what they are. When you get to chemistry, it will be easier for you to understand. So, a positive terminal is called an anode. A negative terminal is called a cathode. So for today, I just want you to absorb that, and I'll definitely send you the notes. By Monday or the next lesson, we shall be able to see how electrons are conducted and how the bulb lights. With that, my wonderful students, I want to wish you a nice weekend. And to those who do not have their notes, find them on WhatsApp, find them on the school portal, and if not, for the last time, let me give Natasha a chance to now send them the link or the number, kwa sababu iko watu lazima tuwasukume mpaka dakika ya mwisho. Natalie, please, for the last time, can you share your number?
Okay. 01007033381.
Pardon?
01007033381.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Pardon.
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 01.
Uh-huh.
007033381.
I have posted it to everyone. I have posted that number to everyone. And so for the last time, no one is going to have a problem with that. You'll be able to access all the notes. I've also seen someone has sent the school portal, and that means you can use the link to be able to access all those notes that I have sent to you. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care and stay safe. We need you as we progress on. Asanteni sana wanafunzi, tuonane juma lijalo.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank
Bye. Vero, turn the games. Vero, turn the games.
Hey.
Check